Hello, welcome to this week's video. This week we're going to take a look at how I base my bolt action figures. Right, I'm going to start out with one or two of these troops by putting on some little tufts. Now you're going to have to forgive me if I a bit fingers and thumbs, because it's kind of difficult to do this while filming it at the same time, but they are self-sticking tufts, but I always fix mine in place with a bit of super glue just to be sure that they're going to stay in place. Only a tiny bit. There we go. And these are frosted tufts that I'm putting on here, so they will blend in well with everything else. That's it, in place. Now obviously it's best not to put too many of these on, because it can soon look, just unreal. So it's better to be sparing. Having said that, you could get away with putting perhaps another one here, so he's like walking between two grasses, but for this one I'll leave it. I'll just take a look at the next one. A tuft. And that's that one. That's a better view. Right, I'm not going to show you all of these. I'll go through them and base up some of the tufts, and then I'll come back for the next stage. Right, I'll just give you a brief look at some of these now I've put the main basing part on. Well, this is one with a tuft on it, as you've seen me do before, and this one I've picked out a few individual bricks. Well, you can just pick them out. I just basically try and randomise them, give them all a slightly different look. So another one with a few bricks. A tuft. I'm sorry about the lighting. I'm trying to just throw a bit more light on it for you there. And then I've also gone for one or two where I've put on a small piece of twig or something that I've collected and dried out. And I just, stick these on in a variety of places, just like I say, to break it up so they all look a little bit different. Because obviously that's what we're trying to do with the soldiers, because although we can mix and change around the bodies, they do have the same look. So a base is another way that you can add a bit of variety to it. Right, I'll move on to the next stage. I thought I'd show you some of the different materials that I'm going to use for my basing on these soldiers. And the idea being that I want to make them so they're equally at home when sat in a rural or urban scene on the map. So the first material that I'm going to look at is some granite dust that I think I got from Geek Gaming. I think railway enthusiasts tend to use this between tracks and things, but it just gives that urban feel that I want. This second one I've got this through, basically, it's essentially brick and cement dust and a bit of material that I swept up. And I thought, I'll bottle that because I'm sure I could probably use it, for, rubble in a town or something like that. So I've just kept that by ready to use. This next one comes from a bag of coarse sand that I had. I don't know where I actually got that from, but what I've done is I've sieved through the sand to get the different materials, and this one's just brought out all the little shell parts of the sand. This one is basically crushed cat litter, but it works very well as cement. And then I've gone for three basic snow, ordinary kind of scatter material. I've gone for the more sparkly sort of snow. Don't know who the manufacturer was, to be honest. This one is some dried tea. I've been using this a lot because it looks really good as soil, but it's got that chunky feel of, like wet soil or turned soil. So yeah, it just adds to that rural feel. This one is a mixture of tiny bricks, clay bricks that I bought from eBay, and I've also mixed it with some crumbled terracotta from I dropped a couple of flower pots, and I ended up taking a piece out and just grinding down the dust into it and put some of that into a container, and I've mixed that in with the bricks to make it look more like a kind of brick debris. So that's what that one is. And this one again is from that bag of sand. It's a slightly coarser mixture that I sieved out of it. And there's a few slightly larger stones in it that I thought could look quite good, and just to break the mixture up a little bit. So I mean, some of it's a bit shaly, but once it's actually covered and cated, it'll be fine. And then that brings me back to the grit. So all of these really I'm going to put together, put them in a dish, and then we'll see what we end up with. And this is how it looks when I've mixed it all together. I mean, as you can see, it's going to be good for rural and town scenarios. It could be crumbled buildings, it could be debris on a field. And obviously once I've added a bit of snow to it, it's going to look different again. I mean, bearing in mind that I'm going to be adding a little bit of clump snow towards the end. But I think it's just a bit different from what I've used in the past, because I tend to use the grass flock and the things like that. But I just felt sometimes, it looked a bit odd when I'd got soldiers in the town. And I thought, if I could make it kind of cross over both areas, it'd just be something different. And I thought, well, just give it a try. And I think that's what you have to do. The next stage is that I use some fast drying Basin glue. I tend to use this one by Luke's Gaming. I did use, Geek Gaming Scenics. I did used to use just straight PVA, but this one's got that bit more tackiness to it, and I just find it holds some of the base parts in place a lot better. And then if I want to add any additional parts, I just use ordinary PVA when I'm sealing it. Right, so I've taken the first figure. I've tipped a little bit of that out into this old lid, and then carefully, without getting it onto the actual soldier, I'll go round base, keeping it inside. Now, I know a lot of people will actually prepare their bases before they put the soldiers on, but I just prefer it this way. because I can then tailor it to how I want it for that particular soldier. Now I'm not going to, this one that's got a little bit of wood on it, I'm going to avoid putting the glue on the top, because obviously I don't want the brick dust all sticking to the top of that. And any that does stick in place, it won't be firmly fixed, so I'll be able to dust it off. Right. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and do them all, because I think that'll be a bit boring to watch. But the next stage, I bring in the pot that I mixed of the different ingredients, and I just simply dip the soldier in, give him a bit of a shake round in the bottle, in the tub I mean, shake off any excess, any that's on the side, just dust that off while it's, and that's it. That's him based up. Now as you can see, that's more of a rubble type finish, but as I say, I will be adding some snow to that as well, because bear in mind these are some extra grenadiers that I'm going to be using on odd end battles, but I don't want to overdo it with the snow this time. I want it to have just an element of snow. That's it. I'll just do one more, and then as I say, I'll do the rest off camera. I'll take one of the tough ones this time. Put a nice layer, but I don't make it too thick, otherwise it'll take forever for this first layer to set. It's not that difficult really, going around the soldier, and as I say, you can, it allows you to make it, you know, bed him into the base rather than just plonking him on a base that's already finished. And that's it. And again, bring up the pot, dip him in, shake off the excess, just dust the sides, and that's him done. As I say, you won't get the finished effect until I put a bit of snow on there as well and seal it. But it just gives you an idea. I mean, obviously, depending on the materials that you use, you know, you can get lots of different finishes. I mean, I've used, like I say, a bit of dried tea in this one, but I've also used dried coffee grounds in the past, which has more of a forest feel to it, or a muddy field. I think, to be honest, if you just keep your eyes open whenever you're doing anything around the house, any jobs, it's surprising how many things you see. You think, oh, that'll look okay on Basin. In fact, I think there is one ingredient in this mix that I've not mentioned, and I think that was a bit of tile grout powder, which also adds, you know, firms it up when I've actually put the glue on it as well. Right, I'll just go ahead and finish all these off then, and then we'll look at the next stage. When the bases have had enough time to dry and everything seems quite firm, I'd just like to make sure by adding some watered down PVA. Basically, I've used perhaps 1 part to 5 parts water, or perhaps even a little bit more water. And what I do is I use a pipette and then I just put 1, or 2 drips. Around the base. And that's it. And what I've done is I added a small drop of fairy liquid into that mix. I mean, little tiny drop, and that just made it flow, and it lets it soak down into the stones so they can get a better grip. And I'll do that for each of those that I based earlier, and it just gives that little bit more firmness to the basin that we used. There's no need to put too much on. And it soon sucks it down and then dries out. Whether you can see that, it's still sitting on the surface a little bit. But this just ensures that nothing's going to come off, you know, because obviously you're handling these all the time. So the last thing you want is bits of grit and scenery falling off them every time you get them out. So that's sealed the first layer. I mean, as I said, I will come back later on and apply a little bit of snow to these, but we'll look at that later. So I'll go ahead and get the rest of these done now off camera, and I'll be back soon. Now that the figures have dried, I'm going to apply some clump snow to the bases, and this is the stuff that I would normally use, but I have run out. So basically I've made something very similar of my own, which is from the powdered snow, and then I've also added some PVA and some white paint and a little bit of Mod Podge as well, just to give it, you know, so it will set hard, but it's still like a paste at the moment. Well, you can see that very well, but you'll see it when it's out on the thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be quite sparing with this, because I don't want to be overkill. So I just want suggestions of the snow. So if I take the first figure and put a little bit on, clear my brush, just pat that down. So that's a little bit there. You can see that. I'll just add a little bit more. What I will do is I'll include some stills at the end so you can have a better look. But actually I'm quite pleased with this paste that I've made up. It seems to have done the job. I'll put a little bit in the grass tuff as well. There we go. Like I say, it doesn't have to be a lot. Whether you can see that very well. I actually probably put on a bit more than I wanted on that one. But I'll do another one and then you can see what I'm aiming for. There we go. Been a little bit more sparing on that one. I'll do one more and then I'll finish these off camera, because I think you can get a gist for what I'm doing. This this dries quite quickly. I mean, I'll leave it for at least 4 hours before I do anything else, but to be honest, it's probably going to be dry a lot quicker than that. When you smooth it out over the grit finish, it gives a lovely frosting effect. Whether you can see that clear, but as I say, I will include some photos. But I think you can get from that the gist of what I'm aiming for. I'll just finish the rest of these off camera and then I'll bring them back and let you have a quick look at them all when they're complete. Right, I've actually finished all of them now. They're all based and I've added snow in various different quantities to each base. I've just got to allow it to dry now and they'll be finished. But I'll include some photos at the end so you can have a closer look at how I've actually applied it. And that's how I base my figures for snow. Here are a few photographs so you can take a better look at the overall finish, and I'll rejoin you at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I hope you found something of use, particularly if you've never tried it before. As you can see, it's relatively simple and it's always worth just giving it a go. If you have any questions or any hints and tips that you'd like to share, just drop them in the comments box. I do reply to everyone I receive. Once again, I'd like to say sorry for some of the shaky camera work and lighting. As you can no doubt tell, I am still very new to making YouTube videos, but I will try to improve, I promise. If you've enjoyed my video, please do consider giving it a thumbs up and maybe even consider subscribing. That way you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a video. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye.